And welcome back to another episode of the Double Doink Podcast. My name is Brenden and Eric. Thanks so much for tuning in today. We're talking week 12. Not like the greatest slate compared to last week, but it's back heavy. 4 o'clock games are banging. The night games are banging. Warren's he's looking banging. How we doing, brother?
I'm doing well, brother. I'm doing well. How are you?
I can't complain, man. Can't complain. Fun week in news. And I want to talk about it off the top because the New York Jets are on a bye. I love a good GM firing. I love a good coaching firing. It's one of my favorite parts of working in the NFL business. Whenever I see a coaching fire, a GM firing on my phone and I get to write it, I get fired up. The Jets can Joe Douglas after 5.5 seasons. I was thinking about this. Like I like I said already, I enjoy this time of year. I hate how I like when people lose jobs, but usually this kind of stuff happens December, even January. The Jets have had 3 news cycles this year where they've demoted the offensive coordinator, they fired the head coach, and they fired the GM in 3 different news cycles. I find that baffling, and it's not even Thanksgiving yet. This team is the definition of a mess. Let's get your opinion on this. What's your take on the Jets on their bye week right now?
I don't get why they didn't let him just sit there for the last 6 weeks. I mean, I guess you could have the argument of whoever's doing the drafting next year, get him in the building as soon as possible, but it seems like odd timing for me. I don't know. I'm going to play devil's advocate here because I'm actually thankful for the New York Jets, because when I see this type of complete clown show going on, it makes me feel, okay, there's other people that are going through what I go through in Chicago. Like, it is eerily similar, the what's the word, like the parallel lines these two teams are on, because they both cannot get the quarterback position figured out at all. And I respected the New York Jets for taking a swing on Aaron Rodgers. They took the biggest swing imaginable trying to fix their biggest issue. They got a 2-time back-to-back MVP, brought him in the building, and it hasn't worked. It reminds me of the Bears, where no matter who plays quarterback for this franchise, it's not going to work. And I think it's the exact same in New York. So I'm actually thankful that franchise exists and the media attention they take up as a bad franchise.
Yeah, I think this can be revisionist history a little bit with Aaron Rodgers, because at the time I thought it was a fine swing to take. Like, what else were they supposed to do at this point, right? Like, Zach Wilson tanked out. The Aaron Rodgers was available. Like, I don't know what other route you could have gone. The Vikings went Sam Darnold this year. Like, I'm trying to think of back what happened last year. Like, if you needed a bridge quarterback, there wasn't much out there.
Back Sam Darnold. There's
exactly. That's my point. Yeah,
or rumors about next year. That's not happening.
No, he's not going back there. No. But my point is like, at the time, the Rodgers thing I thought was a fine move to make, but it's obviously been a disaster, right? Like, he tears his Achilles 4 snaps in. He's playing like shit this year. And then when you look at the Joe Douglas era, you just think he didn't get the quarterback right. Usually general managers have 2 swings, maybe sometimes 1, sometimes 3 swings at a quarterback. And his 2 swings were Zach Wilson, which was a mess. He was dead last in EPA and success rate from 2021 to 2023. He was the worst quarterback in football. And then your second swing was Aaron Rodgers, and that hasn't worked. So I think Douglas deserved to be fired. Like, you're 30-64. You got to make the playoffs at some point, right? Like, you're 5.5 seasons in, you haven't made the playoffs, so something's got to give here. Having said that, Joe Douglas was like the perfect GM candidate at the time. Like, I remember when they hired him, I'm going, damn it. Like, the Eagles just lost Joe Douglas, who was a vice president of player personnel in that building. He was a part of that Super Bowl construction team in 2017. He would work for the Baltimore Ravens and Eric DaCosta. Like, those are the 2 GMs. If you're hiring a candidate, you're going, have you worked for the Ravens or have you worked for the Eagles? Sign me up. Those are really 2 good organizations to be with. And I think the main problem, like, if you're a Jets fan, I would be terrified of the reporting that I'm seeing going around, especially with the owner. Like, I don't know if you saw this Athletic article that dropped. Diana Rossini and Zach Rosenblatt wrote it. The owner, Woody Johnson, is meddling in the organization like I haven't seen in a while. And if you're a fan of a team, the last thing you want is an owner meddling with your team. He went rogue and fired Robert Saleh by himself. He was trying to bench Aaron Rodgers after 4 starts this season. Rodgers hasn't played well after that, but to go to your coaching staff and say bench the 40-year-old All-Pro future Hall of Fame quarterback after 4 games, the coaching staff's going, what the hell are you talking about? He benched Tony Adams, the safety, by himself. He's going above, he's going past the coaching staff, past the general manager. Joe Douglas just was a sitting duck at this point. He had no say in the organization. And one more thing I want to add before I throw it back to you. The most insane part about this is Jets fans have to follow what Donald Trump is doing, because he's going to give Woody Johnson the ambassadorship to the UK, and you want that to happen because you want him gone for 4 years. But he just fired the GM and the coach. Now he might have a chance to hire this new regime before he goes on that trip in February, whenever it is, for 4 years. So they have serious internal problems in New York. And if I'm a Jets fan, I'm freaked out. This is your worst nightmare.
Oh, yeah, it is. It's absolutely the worst nightmare. And I guess, when you put it that way, Douglas was just a scarecrow. He didn't have any power in making decisions, so might as well just remove him from the building. But it's been a sideshow this whole year. I can't believe the guy who's still standing over there is Nathaniel Hackett. He still has a job. It's like a cockroach, this guy. He's somehow still sticking around, even though he's the constant of this offense and its poor production. He's the only guy that was there pretty much last year and this year, and he's still standing. Yeah, New York. They're both New York teams. We'll get to the Giants in a bit, but both New York teams are just in an absolute tailspin.
A couple more questions for you. Do you think the Jets is a good job for GM and coach? Let's say at the end of this year.
Yeah, I do think this is a good job, because when I was looking over Joe Douglas and his history, in 2022, check out this draft haul of his first 4 picks. He drafted Sauce Gardner, Garrett Wilson, Jermaine Johnson. That was in the first round. And then his first pick of the second round was Breece Hall. So whoever's taking this job next year has those 4 players all in their rookie deals still. So there is one more window now. Do they take a shot at a quarterback? The market of stopgap quarterbacks is pretty underwhelming, to say the least. So I don't know. I do think it's a good job, but it'll be really interesting to see if this GM takes a huge swing at the quarterback position or goes through the draft.
Mm-hmm. Well, that leads to my other question. You said there's one guy remaining with the job. There's 2. And the one guy's playing quarterback for the Jets right now.
Oh, no, he's gone. I think that's automatic.
You think he's gone? All right, good. We're on the same page here.
Sure.
Because there's people out there that think that he's sticking around for next year, and I think that's insanity. If I'm a Jets general manager, or if I'm a general manager candidate interviewing around, you're a hot candidate, the first thing I'm saying to ownership is, do I get to pick my quarterback? If you're forcing me to stick with Aaron Rodgers, then I'm gone. And what's funny about this is Chris Johnson, so that's Woody's brother, is going to take over. It's all but basically said and done that Woody Johnson's going to take that Trump ambassador job in UK. Chris Johnson will take over. Aaron and Chris are tight, and Chris was the one that pushed to get Aaron Rodgers in this building. So is Woody's brother going to have say in the quarterback role? That's what freaks me out about a general manager. How much say am I going to have in this building? Because clearly Joe Douglas had no say this year.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. No. It's definitely the big question hanging over the franchise, but I'm certain it won't be Aaron Rodgers. Yeah. I don't even think that's in the cards. I guess unless Woody Johnson says it is. I don't know.
Yeah.
It's impossible. Unless you can know what that guy's mind is saying, I guess you can't say it's 100% certain, but I'm fairly confident Rodgers won't be in that building next year.
I'm pretty confident too. I think push comes to shove and they realize we got to rip it down from the bolts here. All right, last question
40.
quickly. Yeah, he's not playing well. He's exactly. Shit. And if you're fire the GM, the coach, get rid of the quarterback too. The whole thing's got to go. Everything's got to go.
Yeah.
One more. Aaron Rodgers is the quarterback for who in 2025, and is he playing in the NFL at this point?
Oh, that's a spicy meatball, I guess. Because if we're throwing a dart at the dartboard, I'll actually say that he does the whole. Or no, they have JJ McCarthy. He wouldn't do the Brett Favre go to Minnesota.
That's the fun one that's getting thrown around. He could just do the Brett Favre
they have
saga
JJ
again.
McCarthy. But I guess
but is he gonna be ready in time?
They do need one more. Yeah, fuck it. I'll say he goes to Minnesota.
I don't know if they're gonna want him in that building. The Vikings are kind of they're a well-run organization right now. I don't know if they're gonna want to put that nonsense in here. I warns you, I went through all 32 teams. There's literally not a spot I can find. Like, I'll throw a couple your way. Like, if Tua no, they're not. Aaron Rodgers ain't going to Las Vegas. That would be a disaster. I think the Raiders are going young there. The Miami Dolphins, if Tua gets hurt, like, could he roll with that Dolphins
he goes
offense?
unsigned and then he's on the bench.
That's what I think he's gonna have, like the Tannehill arc here, right? Where like I don't think a team's out of the gate gonna.
Well, where's
gonna
Tannehill playing?
He's not, but like my point is, like,
he's
waiting for the opportunity.
That hasn't happened yet.
No, but like he's gonna sit. Tannehill might, if a quarterback in a playoff team gets hurt.
So you still think Tannehill has a chance at playing?
I do this year, yeah. If a quarterback gets down, if you're a playoff team and a quarterback gets hurt, and I think you're giving Ryan Tannehill a call.
The more I think about it, I think Rodgers is the type of guy, if he's not playing football for a team next year, he's doing something else. He's the host of some game show. He's in some sort of political whatever. I don't want to get down that road, but he's not just sitting on his couch like waiting for the phone to ring.
That also kind of makes me feel like he will play because he needs structure in his life a little bit. Like, he's just like a chaotic dude. Like, what will he do without football? Like, that kind of thing. The Dolphins are one. Like, do the Titans, like the Titans went all in this season. Like, they are spending the third most money in the NFL. That's another team. Outside of that, like, there really isn't a destination for him. So
he's not going to a team that can't win.
Yeah, exactly. That's another thing too. Like, he needs the perfect structure for this to work, and he thought it was the Jets, and it's all concussion now. But the New York Jets are just they're a fascinating mess. That's how I put it to you. All right, let's move on. Week 12 of the NFL season, and Warnsey, we're starting with your squad. Do you have a Bears hat on? So you're back on. You saw an absolute heartbreaking loss again. Being a Bears fan just must suck on a day-to-day basis. I feel for you every single day. And they're hosting the Minnesota Vikings. It's a divisional matchup. They're 3.5-point home dogs. Warnsey, what do you make of the Bears losing another close one in just, again, the most heartbreaking fashion?
You said it was heartbreaking for the Bears to lose that game, but I liked what Kyle Brandt had to say on Monday on Good Morning Football on NFL Network, where he said he didn't feel anything when that ball didn't, or the ball got blocked.
You're just numb to it.
It wasn't heartbreaking. Like, heartbreaking would mean that you're feeling pain and like you really, really hate it. When that didn't go in, we were watching the game at our buddy Laner's. I said, change the channel, next game. Like, what's going on? Like, I didn't care. Like, it was irrelevant to me that happened. Like, it was expected that was going to happen. So I don't think heartbreaking is the right word. I just think expected is. But turn the page on it this week. This is a weird game where you have the Minnesota Vikings, who are playing their third straight road game, and the Bears, who are playing their third straight home game. Don't really see that very often. Bears offense finally showed signs of life last week with the offensive coordinator change. Caleb Williams was back to at least looking like he's competent at the position. I think that this is over since it's over the field goal, I'm going to take Caleb. I am a little bit worried about him facing Brian Flores' exotic blitzes. He's a rookie. He hasn't probably seen anything close to what he's going to see in this ball game. But last week he did really well with his legs. That was actually his best attribute last week. I like his yards again. I think that's going to be a trend going forward with this Bears O-line dinged up still and not protecting him well. So, not a lock or anything, but I'll back my Bears this week.
Yeah, you brought up like the Bears offense and Caleb playing better. I thought Caleb looked great. I liked what I saw. He was 8th in EPA and success rate of all quarterbacks in Week 11. He completed 75% of his throws. The big stat that I found the most intriguing, or I guess if you're a Bears fan, the one that you want to see the most, is he got the ball out at 2.42 seconds. That was the fastest he got the ball out of any game this year.
Yeah, that was clearly a point of emphasis.
Yeah, so I think that's intriguing, or if you're a Bears fan, you got to be happy with that. I also think the Vikings got lucky last week. Like, I bet against them. I took the Titans plus 5.5. You had the deep touchdown to Calvin Ridley called over from a penalty. You had the penalty in the end zone where the Titans guy gets the worst personal foul
completely
flag.
Ripped off.
That's 10 points right there flipped around. The Vikings won by 10.
No, that was on fourth down. That would have been another touchdown.
Okay, you're right. So that was a 7. So it was 14 points flipped.
Yeah.
I thought the Titans looked fine against the Vikings. I was not impressed with the Vikings at all. last week. I said it on the show. This is a team I'm going to be looking to fade going forward because I just don't think the record matches what their team is, their output right now on the field. Justin Jefferson has a good matchup. The Bears play the 5th most single high safety looks in the NFL. Justin Jefferson leads the league in receiving yards against single high safeties. So you could look at Jefferson yards. Jalen Johnson's playing well.
Having
You're
a
right.
hell of a year, man.
I'm going to take the Bears plus 3.5. I don't love it, but hey, you called me insane last week for backing the Bears plus 5.5. Worked out for me, so I'll ride with the Bears again. All right, we're both no locks there, both on the Bears.
But DeAndre Swift being injured is a little bit worrisome for me. He hasn't practiced yet, so he might be out. But hopefully, I'm actually kind of excited for Roschon time. Hopefully, they've just been using him as a goal line guy. Get him some looks because DeAndre Swift, no, doesn't do it for me.
They got like the outside runs working with DeAndre Swift last week. Maybe they can. he's the least fun guy to have as your running back. I completely agree with you. All right, Bucks 5.5 point road favorites into New York. It's DeVito time, Warnsey. DeVito is the starting quarterback. Your boy Daniel Jones finally benched. It is. Giants fans have to be excited about this, but you know what? Like I listened to Daniel Jones' press conference today. I wrote about the score. Kind of feel bad for him. He's a very stand-up guy. He's taking it well, but I don't know if you saw this too. Where he's now the 4th quarterback at practice. He's behind Tim Boyle, who they signed on the practice squad. He was getting safety reps on the scout team in practice today. Daniel Jones was. So it has been a fall from grace for him. What do you got in this matchup?
I don't care if this is a square play. I'm taking the Bucs. This is my first lock of the week. I'm on Tampa Bay minus 5.5. I think what they're doing to Daniel Jones is a flat-out slap in the face. I'm disgusted by it, frankly. I'm not going to sit here and argue that Daniel Jones is a good quarterback. I know you could pull out a lot of stats that would say he is, in fact, a very bad quarterback. He is better than Tommy DeVito. Like, that's not no sane human on earth would argue that Tommy DeVito is better than Daniel Jones. I cannot believe they're making this switch. It is 100% financially related, contract related. I believe Daniel Jones has a clause in his contract that if he gets injured this year, a big portion of his contract next year converts to guaranteed money.
Yeah, it's $23 million injury guarantee, and Daniel Jones came out and said it today, basically. Yeah, that's why I'm benched. Like, he admitted to
it. We saw the same thing last year with Russell Wilson in Denver when they benched him. And what that does, just benching a guy for money, you lose the locker room. There were plenty of players who stuck up for Daniel Jones in the media, Dexter Lawrence being one of them. They're pretty close guys. They were drafted in the same draft class, and Dexter Lawrence stood up and just basically said, like, it's bullshit that they're benching my guy. He's QB1 in my books. And also Drew Lock was very rattled that they passed Drew Lock. Like,
what a
Drew
waste
Lock
of $5 million. They signed him to $5 million. Just go inside and light it on fire. What if you're not going to play the guy?
Yeah,
Just
like,
most insane situation.
This is a dignified. I wouldn't even use the word dignified. This is a tank. It's not even a dignified tank. What they're doing right now, that would be playing Drew Lock. Would be the dignified tank. This is the full-on nosedive tank, putting in Tommy DeVito. On the other side, the Bucs are getting Mike Evans back, and surprisingly, Tristan Wirfs has been limited 2 days in a row. I thought when he suffered that injury, that looked very concerning. I did not expect him to be back on the field. I know they had a bye week last week, but if Wirfs suits up, I think the only way the Giants have a chance in this game is to get pressure. But like I said, I'm banking on the Giants giving up. So give me the Bucs minus 5.5.
I told you before the show there's going to be a pick we're both on, and the ones that we like. And you're like, no way. This is obviously the one, Wardsy. I'm like, the Bucs minus 5.5. This might be my favorite bet of the year, dude.
Oh, wow. Sorry I talked so long there.
No,
I assumed that you were going to be on this.
No, go away. You made a lot of good points, and I'll add to it. Like, Tommy DeVito stinks, everyone. Like, he might be fun, but he absolutely terrible. He got benched last year after going in. Tommy DeVito last season, 24 QBR total, 15.6% sack rate. Those are terrible numbers. Out of 35 quarterbacks who played 255 snaps last season, DeVito ranked 33rd out of those 35 in EPA, 34th in success rate. He was actively bad. I don't get this at all. Why not go with Drew Lock if you want to win football games? Tampa Bay gets Mike Evans back, like you said. The Bucs are 7th in EPA on offense, 5th in success rate, and they're coming off a bye week. They're motivated. The NFC South is right there for the taking. You already brought up the Giants are quitting. I 100% agree with that. The players are pissed off about this. They have nothing to play for anymore. And one more just little thing. The Giants are dead last at EPA allowed on screen passes. The Bucs are a heavy screen team. They're second in EPA on screens. I think this Bucs offense rolls. The thing with the screen passes that's key is it keeps you away from Dexter Lawrence, who's their best player, and it keeps you away from the Cody Barton matchup, who's probably their worst offensive lineman. He's a rookie. So I'm all over the Bucs. I think they steamroll the New York Giants. So my first lock as well is the Bucs -5.5.
Let's go. We're riding. I love it. I love it. I don't know why I thought you wouldn't be on that.
Oh,
this is going to be definitely a heavy public game too. I mean, but I also remind people we were in agreement on the Lions -3.5 over the Cowboys, which was a huge public play as well. But some public's going to get theirs too. So
the public got theirs heavy last week. The Saints were the most public bet, and the Lions, and both those teams rolled. So this is a year almost like you don't want to do the public versus the.
It's weird, yeah. The first half of the year was heavy books, and then the last half has been heavy public.
All right, that was a lot of time spent on Bucs Giants, but we're both locking it in. The New England Patriots are on the road to take on the Miami Dolphins. Dolphins are 7-point favorites. The Dolphins are not out of this thing yet, man. They're battling for a playoff spot. They're at kind of the bottom of that AFC wildcard race, but they can still win it. They have the second easiest remaining schedule according to betting markets. The Miami Dolphins offense under Tua Tagovailoa, when he's healthy, he's playing well. If you were to take their success rate when Tua plays to the rest of the league, they'd rank 5th in success rate. So this offense still has juice now that Tua's back. What do you got in this one? I think this is the hardest game for me to kind of get a read on. What are you looking at?
Yeah, this is a game I really don't have a great feel on at all. Interestingly, it did open earlier in the week. Dolphins -7.5. It's since dropped to 7. So somebody out there really likes the New England Patriots. I don't have a feel on it. Last year, Christian Gonzalez they only had one matchup, Gonzalez versus Hill. Gonzalez actually did win the matchup. It was one of Hill's lowest outputs of the season. But overall, I'm staying away. I guess because it's a division game, I'll take the Patriots for the sake of the show, but don't love it.
Yeah, maybe the guy who saw some Drake May film, all 22, come out. He's looking great, man. Drake May's playing really, really well. He gives a reason Patriots fans watch games again. I thought he looked amazing against the Rams. I'm really impressed with what he's doing. What's interesting with Drake May this year, compared to what he was showing at North Carolina, is he wasn't really great on a down-to-down basis, so you're more kind of the big chunk plays. The Patriots offense is getting those 10, 11, 12-yard pickups. They're middle of the pack in success rate right now, and that's kind of what my biggest shock with Drake May is. The Dolphins defense over the last 5 weeks is 25th in success rate, so they've been kind of holding the big plays, but on a down-to-down basis, the Dolphins have not been the greatest on the defensive side of the ball, so I'm going to lean Patriots +7. I don't love it, but I'm with you. I'm going to take the underdog. I think they can keep this one close.
Nice.
All right, another divisional matchup. The Tennessee Titans are on the road to take on the Houston Texans. The Texans are 7.5-point favorites. My takeaway from the Texans-Cowboys game was not the Dallas side of the ball because there's nothing really to look at anymore there. I'm still disappointed with this Texans offense. I still don't like what I'm seeing. They are now, Warren, the 29th in offensive success rate right now. 4th worst in the entire league with C.J. Stroud at quarterback. It baffles me. I know the offensive line hasn't been great, but this has been, in my opinion, a poorly coached offense. I'm not liking what I'm seeing from Bobby Slowick. I think he's on complete fraud watch for the remainder of the year. Do you think they can bounce back offensively against the divisional foe?
I'm 100% with you. I'm still so disappointed in this offense, and it's crazy to think that where would this team be without Joe Mixon?
Yeah, they were a Joe Mixon-led offense right now. Yeah, it's either boom or bust.
That's why I'm not very confident about the future. Is that right now they're hanging on by a thread because of Joe Mixon, a contract that I balked at when it happened, and he's been absolutely saving them. You mentioned earlier that you were on Tennessee last week. I think you were a week early. I'm taking Titans +7.5 here. It's not a lock of mine, but again, this is another division game where we're getting a score or more. In this case, it's more of a fate of the Texans because I'm with you. I don't buy what I'm seeing over there, so give me the Titans.
what are the Tennessee Titans? Like, I have no idea what to
They're a
make
bad
of this team.
football team, man. They are. They're the worst team in the NFL so far against the spread.
Yeah.
So that's why I'm not putting actual dollars on this game. But the Titans are not a good team.
I just don't know what to make of them. Like last week, I thought they still played well, and they lost by 10. They didn't cover the spread.
Yeah,
dumb penalties.
We brought up their special teams so many times. It's a disaster.
They are the worst punt return team, the worst punting team, and the worst kickoff team in the league. 3 of the 4 special team avenues, they are dead. They are last at. This is a historically bad special teams unit. They're at the top in penalty yards allowed, or penalty yards for. Sorry, like they just make stupid mistakes. And I know I already brought up last week, like, because it wasn't their fault. The refs had something to do with it, but still, like, they just find ways to lose every single week. I'm going to back the Titans again as I'm saying that, but they are just the weirdest team in the NFL. I cannot figure out what they want to do on a week-to-week basis, what their identity is, what's going to happen with them this offseason. They're just a weird one, but that hook really gets me here. I think they can backdoor cover this, or they can cover that 7-point spread. All right,
we're in lockstep here so far.
Yeah, we are. All right, the next one up. Chiefs get their first loss of the week last week against the Buffalo Bills. They're no longer undefeated. They're going to take their 1-loss record to Carolina to take on the Carolina Panthers as 10.5-point road favorites. I'll pass the ball to you. Bryce Young versus Patrick Mahomes. Doesn't get any better than this. Wardsy, what you got?
Yeah. So normally for me, Patrick Mahomes off a loss, that's an automatic look towards take that. But there's something different about this Chiefs team this year. I know I did bet them last week. They were one of my locks. But there's something different about this Chiefs team. I know they're 9-1, but they don't look the same to me. They haven't been covering spreads at all. I know the Carolina Panthers are not a good football team, but Chiefs haven't been covering big spreads for quite a while now, and there's something different brewing over in Panthers now. At least Bryce Young, I saw him smiling a couple of weeks ago. Hadn't seen that for a year and a half.
He looks so cute when he's happy.
Smiling.
He looks so cute when he's happy. It makes me happy.
They're getting finally their second-round pick, Brooks. Brooks, he's ready to go. So they're going to have a 2-pronged attack at the running back position. They're going to run the ball, try to shorten this game, take the ball away from Patrick Mahomes. And if they're able to accomplish that, it's covering 10.5 looks doable to me. So not betting it, but I'm on another dog here, Panthers plus 10.5.
We are a barking show. We love our underdogs. I'm with you. I'm going to take the Panthers plus 10.5. I think they can keep this one within 10 points. 10.5 is a lot on the road, especially for a team like I think this take on the fan 590 this week. Like, I think the Chiefs are the 3rd best team in the conference. And I'm pretty confident.
Yeah,
I think the Bills and the Ravens are better. I think there's holes in this armor here. The one that's really caught me, I guess not caught me off guard is the right term. Like, they don't have the greatest personnel, but they're 20th in pressure rate this season. They can't really get after the quarterback. Chris Jones is taking 50% of his pass rush snaps as the defensive end and the edge rusher. They don't have anyone on the outside. Like, George Karlaftis is fine, but they traded for Josh Uche. He's not really going to make much of a difference. I really think they have a pass rushing problem, and I think that's going to come back to bite them in big games, especially in the playoffs. So I don't know. I think this Chiefs dynasty, this is the worst year for them. And I know we say that all the time. They have an absolute super villain at quarterback, but I don't know. There's something off of the Chiefs this year.
Yeah, I won't be watching a second of this football game.
All right, the Dallas Cowboys are on the road take on the Washington Commanders. The Commanders are 10.5-point favorites. You know what's funny? So Cooper Rush threw for 354 yards against the Texans. If you watch, I give you a notice, and it reminds me of what Dak Prescott did all before he got hurt. He goes up 350 passing yards. It's all garbage time. They just copied and pasted the stats. So this Cowboys team stinks. Can they cover 10.5 on the road to Washington?
I don't think this is rock bottom yet for the Cowboys. I think it's getting way, way worse.
I think there's another lever to be pulled under that trap.
Yeah. If we only are releasing 3 locks per week, if I had a 5-pack, I think this would have come in my 5 slot. And I think Washington bounces back. They got stymied for the first time offensively last week versus a great Eagles defense. I think they bounce back here. And I think Jaden Daniels with that mini bye is going to be a little bit more healthy. He wasn't running the ball down in Philly at all. I don't think he's going to have to use his legs in this football game. You can just hand it off. I think Robinson and Eckler get yards on the ground. And I do think Scary Terry gets back involved after being on Guantanamo Bay last Thursday. So I really like the Commanders here minus 10.5, but it didn't make my top 3 locks.
Yeah, I think everyone's talking about Jaden Daniels is rushing, and like that's a problem. I think the completion percentage is what's the most worrying. Like he missed a lot of throws, like he's throwing balls in the dirt. If you look at since week 8, he's 28th in completion percentage out of 35 qualifying quarterbacks. I think that's the number that I'm more worried about. Maybe he's like, I don't know if it's the rib injury, I don't know exactly what it is, but maybe this extra bye week can help them. And I do think they went to the lab this week and they figured out how to get the ball in other people's hands, because you brought up like Quinyon Mitchell did a very good job of taking away Terry McLaurin. It wasn't just him. The Vic Fangio's defense just did a very good job of bracketing him out, and they didn't have anyone else to go to. Zach Ertz was their go-to target, and I think there's a matchup in this game that they can exploit, and I really like it. It's gonna be one of my locks. This is as greasy as it gets, but my research pings me to Noah Brown over 37.5 receiving yards against his former team. A little revenge game action.
Greasy.
So the Dallas Cowboys this season on receivers that line up on the right side allow 73.3 yards per game. That is the highest of any side of any team this season. So if you're throwing away from Trayvon Diggs, it's going to be open for you. Noah, you only got to get half of that. Out at 73.3 yards. So I really like that total. Noah Brown has actually looked better this season than in years past. He was caught early. He's been a little cooled down since that Hail Mary game, but I don't know. I'm all over Noah Brown. I think the Commanders offense rolls. Commanders minus 10.5 is going to be my pick as well. So I didn't like a lot this week, and I dug up that prop, so that's what you get.
No, I like that. Trust your prop info. It's also a revenge game for Dan Quinn. We should have brought that up.
Yes.
And he's got to know this offense better than anybody, and it's not even Dak. It's Cooper Rush. So he's getting this offense that he knows better than anybody in the league with his backup quarterback, and the run game sucks.
Yeah, I agree. All right. Next up, last one before we take a break. The Detroit Lions are 7.5-point road favorites against the Indianapolis Colts. The Lions' offensive numbers are just absolutely silly from last week. If you look at Jared Goff's numbers, 1.112 EPA per play last week for Jared Goff. Just ridiculous. Every drop back he had, every snap he had, he was adding 1.1 points on the scoreboard for the Lions. 82.4 success rate, just nuts numbers. Do you think the Colts can keep this one close?
There's no point in me even talking about Lions games anymore. Everybody knows who I'm taking. Just close your eyes and take the Lions. It's formula I've been worked really hard on at the beginning of the year, and I've been following it. It works way more than it doesn't. Colts last week, they ran the ball 34 times. They didn't even reach 90 yards. They had 89 yards of offense running the ball last week. I think they're going to have fewer yards against this Lions front. They're really good against the run. Anthony Richardson last week, though, he did probably have his best game as a pro. He was 9 of 13 on throws of 10-plus yards. Guess what? It's not happening 2 weeks in a row. So give me Lions minus 7.5 here. It's not a lock of mine, but I'm obviously taking the best team in the NFL.
I've come to the realization that the Lions just might be a wagon. Like this might be, that might be just their year. That was just an absolute ass kicking last week. They are playing unreal football, team football. The defense is what's really catching me here. Like they lost the best pass rusher in the NFL this season. And they're second in EPA per play still. Like they've almost got better. Just left the field. Aaron Glenn and Ben Johnson are just hot shot coaching candidates. Everyone's talking about losing Ben Johnson. I think losing Aaron Glenn might be even worse. Like that guy's going to be a head coach, and he's going to be a damn good one day.
Speaking of Ben Johnson, he's going up against Gus Bradley, and so I just think that's a huge mismatch.
I think Aaron Glenn is going to blitz the living shit out of Anthony Richardson, and I would do too. The Lions are the 5th highest blitz team in the NFL, and if I'm just throwing guys at him, right? Like it's a second start back, like confuse the young guy. So that's what I think they're going to do. Having said that, the Lions are 25th in pressure rate when they do blitz, so it doesn't always work for them, but I think they're going to do it, and the Colts allow when their 3rd highest pressure rate when they get blitz. This is a team that doesn't do a very good job of blitz pickups. The offensive line doesn't communicate. Bernard Raymond looks like he's going to be out on that Colts offensive lineman. Sounds like I'm taking the Lions, but I'm going to flip flop here. I'm going to take the Colts plus 7.5. Give this one within a touchdown. Weird stat: all 11 Colts games this season have been decided by 10 points or fewer. It's only the 5th time in the Super Bowl era history that has happened. So they've always been able to keep it close. And I liked what I saw from Anthony Richardson last week. He completed 18 to 23 passes from inside the pocket. I don't know. I think this could be a change of the guard for his career. I'll just take the points here. I don't love it, but.
So, last note on this one is Alex Anzalone is out for the Detroit Lions here. I know social media has made that seem like a huge issue. He is the green dot. That's a big deal, but I actually really like their backup, Malcolm Rodriguez. So it might be a blessing in disguise. Wink, wink, nudge, nudge.
I work with a Lions fan, diehard Lions fan. He absolutely hates Anzalone. Like, hates.
I don't know why.
Anzalone.
Like, he's a social media darling, I think, because of his hair. Like,
yeah, he looks good out there. That's it. We're going to take a quick break, and we'll be back with the 4 o'clock games and the night games.
The Double Doink Podcast is sponsored by BetterHelp. Life is hard. It's especially hard when you don't have someone you can open up to. Not everyone is comfortable talking to their friends and family about their personal matters or anything that is bothering them on a day-to-day basis. Mental health is so important to continued success in this world. Therapy is a great way to regroup and get everything off your chest. Insert BetterHelp. BetterHelp is the largest online therapy service, 100% online. They will match you with professional licensed therapists you can trust. You can talk with your therapist however you see fit, via text, phone call, or video chat. BetterHelp has successfully helped over 4 million people worldwide deal with their day-to-day mental health issues. Use the link in the podcast description to get 10% off your first month at BetterHelp.
And we're back on the Double Doink Podcast, finishing off the Week 12 slate. The 4 o'clock games and night games are awesome. We just previewed probably the worst 1 o'clock slate we'll get all year. But let's dive into the worst one of the 4 o'clock slate, and that's the Denver Broncos.
I was looking at what's next.
The Denver Broncos are 6.5-point favorites on the road. They're heading to Vegas. How about Bo Nix last week, Wardsy? Absolutely pantsing the Atlanta Falcons defense. 0.565 EPA per play, 28 to 23 for 307 of them bangs, 4 tutters, 0 picks. He did that, averaging 4.1 air yards per attempt, 4.1 air yards, and he just goes to town on the Falcons defense. I don't know what to make of this. I don't know if Bo Nix is good or not. I need to see more info, but he was downright good last week. Can he replicate this against Vegas?
It was one of my locks last week, the Falcons. That was just a pantsing by the Broncos last weekend. Just absolutely spanked the Falcons every which way. I'm still not buying Bo Nix. I got to see it again. I mean, he's got another great matchup this week versus Raiders defense, who I know they have Max Crosby, but as a unit, they really struggle to get pressure. I think he's going to be able to pick apart another defense, which is crazy to say, but Bo Nix looks good. I think it's going to continue this week, but I hope that the Broncos value just keeps inflating, and then I'll be looking to fade the Broncos down the road.
Yeah, I think Bo Nix's success is directly related to the Broncos' offensive line being first in pressure rate, pass rush win rate. They're playing out of their mind. This is a top 3 offensive line in the NFL right now. I think Sean Payton's doing a very good job. Like, I'll relay it again. 4.1 air yards per attempt. He's thrown for 300 plus yards, 4 touchdowns. It's not really sustainable as the season goes on. Like, teams are going to kind of shut that down. I can't. I'm going to take the Raiders plus 6.5. I think they can keep this one close. It's gross. But the Raiders also have been in games this year. Like last week against the Dolphins, the score didn't match the output. Exactly. The Raiders played well against Miami all basically for 3.5 quarters, and then it fell apart. They almost they were fumble away in that Chiefs game. They covered that spread. Like they're still playing hard. And I don't like the Broncos defense has shown holes too. I don't know. I don't love this one at all, but I'll
last
take the Raiders.
Week Raiders were off a bye and they were playing the Dolphins off a Monday nighter. That was maximum versus minimum rest. This is a division game. I think you're crazy if you have a good feel on this game and are putting big money on it.
I will not be betting on it, but for the show, I'll take the Raiders plus 6.5.
Yeah.
We're finally against each other. Actually, no, we were against each other with the Colts Lions, so it's their second one.
Yeah.
All right. Up next, the San Francisco 49ers are on the road to take on the Green Bay Packers. It's 2.5 point spread right now. Let's take a look. It's still, so the line has actually moved to it's moved to 3 now. Yeah, so it's 2.5 when I did the notes here. The reason why it could be moving, and I'll just say this at the top, Brock Purdy was day-to-day with shoulder soreness heading into practice this week. He's been a limited participant in back-to-back practices. 49ers media reported that they pushed the quarterback press conference from today back till Friday. So 49ers beat reporters are kind of putting 2 and 2 together here that we might see Brandon Allen in this game. Brock Purdy might not start. So if you're going to, before you bet this, if you really like the Packers, bet it now. If you like the 49ers, I'd wait a bit. But there's just uncertainty with who's going to start at quarterback for the 49ers. With all that said, I'll pass the ball to you. What do you make of this game?
Yeah, when I was looking and doing our research, the spread was 2, I believe, even less than 2.5. And I was really talking myself into the Green Bay Packers. A big part of that was because Brock Purdy was showing up on the injury report. And last week, he did not attempt a single throw over 20 yards. So there is clear evidence his shoulder or something is going on with that throwing arm. And I was ready to bet Green Bay. It probably would have, it came in on my 4 slot on my pack of bets this week. And also a big reason for that is, other than Brock Purdy, the 49ers are still just really banged up. They do not look like the same team. George Kittle missed last week. He's practicing this week, but he's still not 100%. Nick Bosa is clearly nowhere near 100%. He only played 22 snaps last week. He's dealing with a hip injury. Fred Warner is dealing with something. He does not look like the same player as he has over his years. They are getting Charvarius Ward back this week after the absolute, just really, really sad story of a family issue with him. But again, he hasn't played in a little bit. Does he have his legs under him? I really do think that the 49ers are trending in the wrong way. McCaffrey does not look the same. I think the Packers win this game, whether it's Brock Purdy or Brandon Allen. So I will be betting Packers this week.
Yeah, the Packers is giving me my third lock here. You said a lot what I was going to say. I don't care who's starting at quarterback. I'm going to take the Green Bay Packers, whatever the spread is, the books put out. Brock Purdy, if he does play, his shoulder is an issue. And you brought up like the didn't throw a ball over 20 plus yards. There were 2 teams in the NFL last week that didn't have only had 1 play of 20 plus yards. It was the Chiefs and the 49ers, the 2 Super Bowl teams from last week. The 49ers don't have a deep passing game right now. They can't get these big chunk gains. Like last year was Christian McCaffrey on the ground doing this. He doesn't look like the same guy. I brought it up last week too. Like he's not breaking the tackles to get those extra 5, 10, 15 yards, whatever it is. I don't think he's the same player. The 49ers defense is also an issue right now. They're 17th in defensive success rate, 22nd in rush success rate. The Packers have one of the best run games in the NFL, the most exotic run game in the NFL. Like the designs that Matt LaFleur is coming up with are huge. And I liked what I saw from Jordan Love last week. I know the game was tight, but I thought he looked the healthiest he's been. He was able to move around more. He was making some tight window throws. Brock Purdy last week got a 26% tight window throw rate too. Like the 49ers can't get open receivers. As I am of the belief that this is where the 49ers season comes crashing down. There's always a team that every year where I kind of look at this time and go, okay, it's over for them. Like something's going to go wrong or it's all going to go wrong. And I think this is the week for the 49ers. I think the Packers are going one way. I think the 49ers are going the other way. I think the 49ers are going to miss the playoffs. Like that's, I think, yep. I don't think this team's got it this year. I think this is just a season from hell. And it's a 2024 49ers. We get one of these every year, 2 of these every year. The Cowboys are definitely one of them. I think the 49ers are the other one. And I'm gonna lock in the Packers. Right now it's -3. Whatever the spread is, give me the Packers as a lock.
I like it. And I also do have a bet in this game as well as a lock, and it's a prop. It's gonna be Jaden Reed over 48.5 receiving yards. Right now the 49ers are giving up the second most yards per game to slot receivers. Reed runs over 80% of his snaps out of the slot. When him and Jordan Love are clicking is when this offense is at its best. Last week, he only had 22 yards receiving, 2 catches. Bears actually are top 5 against slot wide receivers this year. But like I said, they're going against the second worst slot receiving defense in the 49ers. And on the season, Reed averages 64 yards per game, even with that poor showing last week. So I think Reed has a good game, go over 48.5. I'd even sprinkle on the 75 or the 80 if you're feeling frisky like I will be.
Ladder it, just keep taking me over, keep taking those overs. I like it. I'm over the Packers in this one too. I think they roll. It's at home too in Lambeau in November. I think the Packers are going to go on a little bit of run here. I think you're going to see Jordan Love play really good football down the stretch like he did last year. Okay, Arizona Cardinals on the road take on the Seattle Seahawks. The Cardinals are 1.5-point road favorites heading into Seattle. This game has a ton of playoff implications. These 2 teams are battling for the top spot in the NFC West. The Cardinals are currently first in the NFC West. The Seahawks get a big win last week, driving down to win on that final drive against the 49ers. A big reason why they looked better on offense is Abe Lucas was back. He was huge in that win. You know, they had 2 pressures on 28 dropbacks. The 49ers offensive line has been an issue. Abe Lucas coming back helps that. And the Hawks defense looked great again. They're healthy again. And that reworked linebacker room is working. The 2 starting linebackers from the team are not on the roster anymore from week 1. They've completely flipped that defense. Mike McDonald has kind of moved things around. And I think it was a positive sign last week. Do you think they can hold down the Arizona Cardinals?
Hey, you brought up Abe Lucas. Unfortunately, got hurt at the end of that game, and he didn't practice yet today. He's questionable, so that's actually a huge piece because, like you mentioned, he was playing so well prior to leaving the game. This is my 3rd lock of the week, and I'm on the Seattle Seahawks. I am buying Geno stock. Can you believe how the tables have turned?
Yeah. If you were listening to this podcast from it's been a Geno argument every time he's brought up between me and Warren Z. I've always been a Geno guy. Warren Z has slowly come onto the bright side. I love to see it.
I am on board, and like I mentioned, I'm going to grab the plus 1.5 in this game. I also like them on the money line. So I was just creeping around, looking at the division winners tickets as well. You can get the Seattle Seahawks to win the NFC West at plus 550. We just spent time talking about how we both agree the 49ers are trending in the wrong direction, and I don't think they have the tools to fix it this season. Seahawks win this game. They're first place in the division, so I'm taking Seahawks plus 550 as a future as well in this game. And a big reason, I really like what Mike McDonald's doing with his defense. I think his system is finally starting to turn this unit around. Health is also a huge factor in that. If you look at their season-long numbers, they're 26th versus the run. But if you look at smaller sample size over the last 2 weeks when they're healthy, they've played Kyren Williams and CMC. They've ranked 4th against the run over that sample size. So I think that health and stopping the run, that's going to be what they need to stop this Cardinals team that really, everything that they do is built off establishing James Conner. Give me the Seahawks. I'm on board.
Yeah, if you look at the Seahawks defense in the first 3 weeks when they were 3-0, they were like top 3 in every analytical metric. It's because they had the guys on the field. Like Byron Murphy was healthy. Remember, he missed some time. Leonard Williams missed some time in the middle of the season. So now that they're healthy again, like I think we talked about last week, I think you're going to see this go in the direction as it was the 2022 Baltimore Ravens when Mike McDonald took over. It took a little bit of time to get going. So I'm also on the Seahawks plus 1.5. I don't love it as much as you do.
So you're a Cardinals fan.
I'm also like the Seahawks. Remember how much I like the Seahawks the last 2 years?
Yeah.
But the thing that's pushing me away is the Cardinals offense has been really damn good. If you look from week 7, they're first or second in EPA per play on offense, and Kyler Murray is the most efficient quarterback, first in EPA per play since week 7. So this Cardinals team's been playing good football.
I'm fading the Cardinals' last 2 offensive stat lines facing the Jets and the Bears. They faced 2 units that gave up defensively. That's also part of my liking the Seahawks.
Very fair. All right, 2 night games, great football games. Can't wait for this one. My Birds are heading to Los Angeles to SoFi to take on the Rams. They're 2.5 point road favorites. From like a schematic perspective, I think this is the coolest matchup of the week. Like Vic Fangio's defense versus Sean McVay's offense. Quinyon Mitchell and Cooper DeJean, the young rookies that are flashing against Puka Nacua and Cooper Kupp. Like this is like a football nerd's dream and just like a film watcher's dream to kind of see the Eagles defense for the Rams offense kind of unfold. I'll pass the ball to you, Warren Z. What do you make of this?
What? I'm passing it right back. It's your Birds. You got to talk about this one. With A.J. Brown on the field, this offense has been really good. 6 games in a row, the Eagles have outgained their opponent by 100 yards or more. That's insane. But throwing the ball back to you, give me your take on this game.
I think the Eagles' offensive line against the Rams' pass rush is a sneaky matchup to watch because that's where the Rams have had success when Jared Verse and Brent Fisk can get after the quarterback and Byron Young, guys like that. The Eagles' offensive tackles just don't allow pressure. If you look right now, Jordan Mailata, Lane Johnson, 1st and 4th highest graded offensive tackles in the NFL. Lane Johnson is literally playing the best football of his career at like 34 years old. Yeah. He's been a monster. I think the Eagles are going to do a very good job of shutting down that Rams pass rush. And this Rams defense doesn't scare me at all. Like outside the pass rush, there's guys you can win in the secondary against. I think A.J. Brown is going to have a monster game in this one. I'm really liking I'm really liking his props. Going to take him for a touchdown. Going to kind of do a ladder parlay with him on Sunday night. I think he explodes. And the other big one on the Eagles defensive side of the ball too, Jalen Carter wrecked the Rams game last season as a rookie. He had 4 pressures and 2 sacks. I don't know if you've been following the Rams offensive line situation, Warrensy, but Jonah Jackson got benched last week from a center. Bo Limmer took over. He played okay. Bo Limmer is a 6th-round rookie, and he gets Jalen Carter. And Vic Fangio's done a very good job of isolating Jalen Carter on the centers, on the guards. Jalen Carter is playing like defensive player of the year football right now, but he doesn't have the stats to kind of show it. But he is literally wrecking games week in and week out. I think you get another big one from him. So I like my Birds to keep it rolling. I'm going to take them -2.5. I think they're a better team than a 3-point spread, if that makes sense. Like if this was on a neutral field, I do think this one would be closer to 5-6. And the Rams is basically a neutral field. The Eagles took over Sci-Fi last year. It was basically 80% Eagles fans. Yeah, so this is literally a home game for Philly. Exactly. So I think the spread is a little too small. So this was like this is my last game off the board. But like you brought up, if you had 5 locks, this would have been my 4th. So I think the Eagles keep it rolling.
Right on. Yeah, I'll side with the Eagles. I've already said all my locks, but so something interesting about this game I was just looking at was the total, and full game is 48.5. And if you look at these two teams over the season, they're just dreadful in the first quarter. The Rams rank 31st in points per game in the first quarter. Sorry, points per first quarter. It's at 1.2. The Eagles are 3rd last in the league at 1.4. So this could very easily be a 3-0 game after the first quarter, which makes me like full game under 48.5. Then maybe a little live bet after that first quarter on the over. See what kind of live number we can get.
FanDuel always has the live bet 30% boost on those night games.
Sure does.
Of that, take advantage. All right, last game and another banger. Like the night games are just awesome this week.
This is the game of the week for me.
Yeah, Baltimore Ravens on the road take on the Los Angeles Chargers. The Ravens are currently 3-point road favorites. Tough loss for the Ravens last week. Justin Tucker warns you. I'm kind of breaking my heart here. Like, what's going on with it? What's going on with the best kicker of all time? Another 2 missed field goals.
Sorry. You're opening this game with Justin Tucker?
We're going places, Warnsy. We're going places.
This is the best game of the week.
I'm just talking about, like, last week he was a big reason why the Ravens lost. I just had to bring that up.
True.
And it kind of sucks to see it. Like it's like
I've been
watching
waiting
the goal
show to talk about this game. This is my favorite game of the week.
You don't have to have anything on Justin Tucker. You can just let me mumble about it. But I'm just sad to see him play like this. The Ravens' loss and Lamar's performance pushed Josh Allen to the favorite as the MVP right now in most sports books. So Lamar needs a bounce back spot. Going against a Chargers defense has been pretty good. Warrensy, you've been waiting all day to talk about it. Now's your turn. Give me it.
The Har Bowl. Like, I just can't wait. I can't wait for this game. I think it's crazy that Lamar Jackson is now not the favorite to be the MVP. I think in terms of analytics, just EPA, he's still off the charts. Didn't score a touchdown last week. Yes, he didn't account for a touchdown. The only guy who got into the end zone last week was Derrick Henry. I think Lamar is going to account for some touchdowns this week. This Chargers defense has been playing very well, but they have not seen anything like this. They had a really good first half versus the Bengals offense last week, but something clicked for the Bengals in the second half. They didn't punt. I think you're going to get a really, really focused Lamar Jackson and this Ravens offense looking to bounce back after the loss. Give me the Ravens here, -3. I'm going to bet this before I get the hook. It's not a lock of mine, but I think public money will come in on the Ravens here and push this over a field goal.
Yeah, five locks. This would be my 5th. I also like the Baltimore Ravens -3. I just think they're the better football team. I think they're the second best team in the AFC. Like I think it doesn't match the record. They've lost some close games and some funky ones, but I think you get a nice bounce back performance.
Put it this way: I think if Evan McPherson could hit one of his 2 missed kicks last week, you're getting 3.5 or more for the Chargers. But the Chargers come away with the win, and now it's a field goal.
Yeah, I don't like this matchup for the Chargers defense at all. One of the big problems with Chargers defense second half, they couldn't get Joe Burrow on the ground. He kept escaping the pocket and making plays. Guess who's the best in the world at that? Lamar Jackson.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And the Chargers play a lot of light boxes. They are the most light box defense in the NFL. Guess who you don't want to play light boxes against? Derrick Henry. Like I think this screams Ravens all day. kind of regret. I should have put them as my third. I don't know. Whatever. I like the Ravens. Warrensy does too. So I think you're safe to take them -3. All right, Warrensy, let's recap.
I just think
locks.
it's the coolest thing ever that these two guys are brothers and they're coaching against each other in the NFL. I think it's so cool, and they're both such good coaches.
It happened in the Super Bowl. It happened in the Super Bowl.
I know, but it's a rematch. Like, it's just so cool, and like it's on Thanksgiving weekend. Like, do you think they're spending Thanksgiving's coming up the following week? So like, do you think they're going out having dinner next week, and this is for bragging rights?
Yeah, 100%. There's gonna be some distance thrown around that Thanksgiving table. Cool. All right, Warrensy, recap your 3 locks.
Alrighty, I'm on the Bucks -5.5. Don't catch me with Tommy DeVito. Don't like it one bit. I'm on the Seahawks +1.5, and then I got a prop for you: Jaden Reed over 48.5 yards receiving. Sprinkle on the +80 or the +70 as well.
I am also fading Tommy Cutlets. I like the Tampa Bay Buccaneers -5.5. Noah Brown over 37.5 receiving yards. And I'm on the Green Bay Packers -3. All right. Thanks so much for tuning in, guys. Really appreciate it. Make sure to hit that subscribe button. If you haven't already, that'd be greatly appreciated. Wherever you listen to your audio podcast, make sure to like us. You can leave a review if you want. That'd be, again, greatly appreciated. And we will talk to you later.